relationship need to have in order to be considered healthy? The first thing is wholeness and value. Is this person a whole person and complete without me? Do they add value to me at all, or do they only take? Um, these people, when they're engaged in a relationship, need to have purpose outside of one another. They also need to have a greater purpose that brings those two people together. That's usually what sustains a relationship, even when things blow up, even when things aren't going that well. There's a greater goal at hand. People who want to have genuine and selfless companionship with you and love throughout the communication and the relationship also are very important in this phase. This has to be two people who are whole and complete in ways that matter most in the relationship, and then they also add value in one another's spiritual and physical being. The second thing that you need are boundaries and accountability. Can this person apologize for mistakes and offenses against me, and can they change their behavior where instances have been identified that are not acceptable in the relationship? So this looks like holding each other accountable, holding yourself accountable and taking accountability, being responsible, having consequences for overstepping your boundaries, and withholding full self-commitment and a full set for full self in another, so that you both are accountable for that. And that looks like making sure that you're being introspective, that you're not doing something to that other person that you wouldn't want done to you. You're doing your best to try to make sure that that person is happy with you being in their life, and you're actively working towards it. That takes accountability. That type of love really shows the other person that you care enough not to hurt them. And I have learned that firsthand, that's one of the things that we can do within ourselves to make sure that how we interact with people is not hurtful but very healthy. The next thing is acceptance and unconditional loving kindness. This looks like having grace and empathy for one another, providing companionship and a sense of togetherness, understanding and the self-acceptance of yourself and one another in the relationship, handling self and the other person with care, and just making sure that that person feels wanted and that they can show up as their true individual self no matter what, every single day. Even when there's mistakes made, a person should never feel like they can't show up as themselves, or they have to completely abandon themselves in order to be friends with you, in order to be in a relationship with you of any kind. So we have to make sure that we're allowing people to show up for themselves in the relationship as well. Like I said, that relationship with self is very important. So if a person has to abandon themselves, which is the core foundation for every other relationship we have, that means that your relationship is jeopardizing every other relationship that they have. Got it? The next thing is respect and reciprocity. This just means I speak to you in a respectful tone. I am still respectful even when I may not like you, and that I reciprocate your actions to me because I do respect your effort. This looks like mutually beneficial effort, realistic expectations for the other person, gentleness and kindness, and holding the other person in high regard, that makes you think twice about how you treat them. The next thing is cooperation and support. This just looks like accepting changes and decisions that happen because each person in a relationship has their own life that they're also involving you in, no matter what the relationship is. So we want to make sure that whenever decisions are made, we're making decisions together and hearing each other out, non-combative, non-abusive to one another when those decisions are being made, that everything is done in fairness with open minds, and everyone is acting in an emotionally and mentally intelligent capacity with one another. The next one is a big one, and we hear about it often, but we want to make sure that we are involving trust, vulnerability, and honesty in our relationships. And this is where communication comes in. We talk about communication a lot in relationships, but communication goes both ways. You have to listen to a person, no matter if what they're saying is hurtful to you, because they're trying to articulate how they're feeling, right? It is hard to be vulnerable with someone who puts up a wall or who gets defensive every time you tell them they did something wrong or something you didn't like, or who you don't feel like that you can have that open dialogue with. Communication includes speaking, listening, and comprehending, and making sure that you guys are on the same page when it comes to that. It's so much easier to be able to trust and be honest with someone when you can actually feel like they're hearing you out in the first place. If they're not, it's going to be difficult because you can't even get the communication through. Trust, vulnerability, and honesty looks like accepting each other's word and giving each other the benefit of the doubt, giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, even when, you might be new to something or you don't know how to do something. You trust yourself to be able to show up and do the best that you can and articulate to another person that this might not be your strength, right? That's being vulnerable and honest with yourself as well. That's going back to being introspective. Then, the other hand of that is sticking to your word and being of good character. You have to make sure that you are, once again, reciprocating what you expect from another person.